Repeat after me. I'm going to sing each phrase twice. Listen the first time and sing along with me the second time. Ya Laini, Ya Laini, Ya Lain, Ya Lain, Ya Yanin, Ya Yanin, 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 Yalini, 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 Yalin, 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 Yanin, 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 Yalin, Yalin, Ya, 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 Yalin, Yalin, Yanin, 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 Yanin. So we have been doing a very unique melodic entity, I'm calling it, within Maqam Huzam and Maqam Sikah. So before I explain, I want to do what we always do, is I want you to use your ears and start to understand with me before I just tell you stuff. So what are you hearing as the tonic? And is the note that I'm emphasizing other than the tonic different than the tonic? I mean, I guess I kind of gave it away there. So I want you to listen. Where's the tonic? And what's the note that I'm really spending a lot of time on? I'll just play it for a second. So if you listen to what I was doing there, you should start to be hearing, as the tonic. And I was spending a lot of time on this note. Let's sing those two notes. So my second question to you is, does this note feel like it's really stable? Or does it feel kind of unsettled and weird? For me, it feels kind of unsettled and weird. And the way that it behaves melodically within this maqam context really shows that it's not stable and it's always moving somewhere. So let's figure out where it is and where it wants to move and why we're talking about it in the first place. So as I said, we're in Maqam Sikah or Maqam Huzam, and the root jins, the bottom jins, is jins Sikah. So hopefully you've already taken the lesson for jins Sikah, and that would be here. And so the tonic of jins Sikah, let's sing it. And jins Sikah, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1, 7, 1. 3, 2, 1, 7, 1. And you can hear that the 2 wants to go down to 1. And the 7 wants to resolve up to 1. That's always how you check to see what tonic you're on. So this other note that I'm emphasizing is up here. What's the relationship between that and the 1? Let's count the scale degrees. What are the scale degrees? It's as if we were to say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, but instead use the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8 equals 1. So let's count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in Maqam Huzam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this note that we're emphasizing is the 5th scale degree. Now, obviously I gave that away in the title of the video, but I want you to pretend that you didn't see that and use your ears to get there, right? So we're playing with 1, 5, 1, 5. So this 5, sing it 5, 1, 5, 5, 1, 5. You might be tempted to say, well, 5 is a common note to move to, like in Maqam Rust or Maqam Nahawan, which maybe you've already studied in this series. But it doesn't feel like the 5th scale degree of Maqam Rust or Maqam Nahawan. It doesn't feel like a stable resting point. Instead, where does it want to go? Listen to this melody. Do you feel that it resolved in a nice, stable way up? 5, 6. So the 6 is a stable note in this maqam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 1, 5, 6, resolving. And what do we have on 6? Well, we're going to go into this more detail in the next lesson on Maqam Huzam. But on 6 we have Jins Rust. So this 5 is really the leading tone leading up to the tonic of Rust. 7, 1, if that's the 1 of Rust. So let's sing just a phrase in Rust. Ya-ning, 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 ya-ning. Ya-ning, 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 ya-ning. Going down to the Rust tonic underneath the Sikah tonic, which is here. 5, 6, resolving. So you can hear that resolution. But I did something else here a lot. Ya-ning, ya-ning, ya-ning. I resolved down to this note, and as you will see in the Maqam Huzam lesson, this is Jins Hijaz on the 3rd of Sikah. Right, here we are, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 4, 3, 5, 6, 4, 3. So let's hear how that resolution works. Keep the 3 in your ear and the 5. Ya-ning, 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 5, 6, 5, 4, 5. 5, 6, 5, 4, 5. 5, 6, 5, 4, 3. 5, 6, 5, 4, 3. 2, 1, 2, 1, 5. So this 5 is really acting like the third scale degree of Hijaz. But it's actually a little weird. It's a little different than the third scale degree of Hijaz. Because if I really play a Hijaz here, this is the tuning of that note. Sing with me. If I'm in a real true Hijaz. And then I jump to this note. You hear how it's a little bit lower than the third scale degree of Hijaz? 1, 2, 3 of Hijaz. But we're getting 1, 2, 3. No, sorry. I screwed that up. It's a little too low. 1, 2, 3. There we have what's actually happening. So that note changes and moves a little bit. It's not quite the third scale degree of Hijaz, but it's very easy to move to Hijaz. Listen to that again. You almost don't notice that I played two different notes there. I exaggerated a little bit there, but sometimes you don't even have to change it. But something else changed, you might be noticing. So what else is changing? What's the note under this note? Let's sing it. Yeah, nee, 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 nee. Yeah, nee, nee, nee. And let's put numbers on it. 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3. 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3. So the 4 changed. What's actually happening in this particular jins, what I'm calling the 5th scale degree of Sikah, and I'm calling it its own jins, this is not named in previous theory, is that the 4 gets raised. The 4 is a leading tone to that 5. So we have 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you might have heard me sing melodies before like this. 5, 4, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 4, 5. 5, 6, 7, 6, 5. 5, 6, 7, 6, 5. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 5. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 5. 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 3, 6, 4, 3. So I changed the 4 back to the lowered 4, which is the 2nd scale degree of Hijaz. Now I've used a lot of numbers here. It's the 5 and the 4 and the 3, and they're different numbers. And I realize that can be a little bit confusing. So I just want to show you, I made this little chart illustrating what are the scalar relationships that we're talking about. So we're talking about the 5th scale degree of Sikah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a raised 4, 5, which is roughly in the same place and kind of gives us the illusion that it's the same note as the 3rd scale degree of Hijaz. 3, 4, 2, 1 in Hijaz, but the 1 of Hijaz is really 3, 2, 1 of Sikah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sing it a little higher. 3, 4. But this note becomes a little lower. 7, 1 in rust. Yeah, nee, nee, yeah, nee. Yeah, nee, nee, yeah, nee. And 1, 3. 3 is the octave of Sikah. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, using the flat 2 of Hijaz, 3, 2, 1, So here I'm using it in direct relationship to the Sikah. Let's sing in melodies. Again, repeat after me. Ya nain, 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 ya nain. And now I'm going to move it to Hijaz. Ya nain, ya nain, ya nain. Keeping resolving it to Hijaz. Ya nain. And finally, I can resolve it up. Ya nain, ya nain, ya nain. Yeah, 7, 1 in rust, but it's really 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in Sikah and Huzam. 7, 1 in rust, yeah, nain, yeah. So this note, what I'm pointing out here, it's unstable in 3 different ways. So it's a really interesting spot for melody in these maqamat. It serves as this pivot point between the 3 main ajnas of this maqam: Sikah, Hijaz, and Rust. So this is the chart we're going to use for my next lesson on Maqam Huzam. And you can see, right, the bottom jins is jins Sikah on 1, Hijaz on 3, and Rust on 6. These are the 3 most important, most primary ajnas you're going to hear in this maqam. And the 5th scale degree is linked to all 3. Ya nain, or ya nain, ya nain, ya nain, or leading up to the Rust. Ya nain, ya nain, ya. So you might hear a lot of improvisations that do this, and there are a couple great examples in the playlist for Maqam Huzam Sikah family on my channel. I want to just give you a few places in songs where this occurs so you're able to identify it. Okay? And the most obvious, famous example is in the Muashah, Ya Ghusna Naqa, which goes like this. Ya Ghusna Naqa mukallalam bil-dhahabi أفديك من الردى بأمي وأبي. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. يا غصن نقى مكللا بالذهب أفديك من الردى بأمي وأبي. إن كنت أسأت في هواكم أدبي فالعصمة لا تكون إلا لنبي. And that's where we get it. So the contrasting melody in this very famous Muashah is really emphasizing that 5th scale degree. So when you hear and the instruments go they're going up to 5, and then the vocal melody in kuntu asatu, really sitting on that note. In kuntu asatu fi hawakum, that's the raised 4. 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, the lowered 4, which is the 2nd scale degree of Hijaz. 3, let me actually show that on the chart again so that it's a little obvious here. In kuntu asatu fi hawakum adabi. In kuntu asatu fi hawakum adabi. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3. So there you have it in that very famous Muashah. Another Muashah, and we're going to cover that whole Muashah in the next Maqam lesson. Then we have in Jadak al-Ghaythu, another muashah we're going to cover in that lesson. جادك الغيث إذا الغيث هنا جادك الغيث إذا الغيث هنا. There you have it. In that second repeat of the جادك الغيث. جادك الغيث إذا الغيث. 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 5. See how the 4 gets raised? And then it resolves up, yeah, and then back down to Hijaz. Ya zaman al-ghusl. Sorry. Ya zaman al-wasli bil Hijaz. Dalusi. Yeah, and then it goes into another jins. Same note. جادك الغيث إذا الغيث هنا يا نين. Another song that we're going to also cover the whole thing. The famous الورد جميل. الورد جميل جميل الورد one. إذا أهدى 3 to حبيب لحبيب يكون. There we have the note. يكون معنا 5, 4, 5. يكون معنا وصال قريب. And it resolves back to the Hijaz pathway. 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, back to Hijaz. يكون معنا وصال قريب. يكون معنا. You can just say that. يكون معنا. And there's the tonic. 1, 5, 4, 5, 6, 5. So there you have it in that famous song. Another song we're not going to cover in Maqam Huzam, but in Maqam Iraq. Sirt al-Hub. طول عمري بخاف من الحب 1, 3. وسرت الحب 1, 4. وظلم الحب 1, 5. So you have it. ظلم الحب الكل صحة. And there we're still focusing on that. حب الكل صحابه. And it's resolving to Hijaz. أصحابه 5, 6, 4, 3. وظلم الحب الكل صحابه. إن كنت أسأت في هواكم أدبي. So you see that this note is important and has its own melody with that raised 4, giving it that temporary emphasis or leading tone in some of the most popular songs in this maqam. So it's a really important part of the melody. So I guess the final thing I'll say is it a jins? In the book Inside Arabic Music, I called it an emphasis on 5th scale degree, a unnamed melodic entity. And it leads us to the question of what is a jins in the first place. In this series and in the book Inside Arabic Music, I've defined a jins as not just a scale fragment, but a particular mood and a set of melodies. And in that sense, this meets those criteria. It is a scale fragment around the 5th scale degree. It has certain particular characteristics, the raised 4. The 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes it's different. So the 7 can be one way or another. So there's variations on this. That's why it's a little bit vague. The other thing that you might say it's not really a jins is it's not really a tonic. It's not tonicizing anything. It's sitting on this thing that is actually a part of either Sikah, 5, 1, or 3, 2, 1 of Hijaz, or 7, 1 of Rust. It's an unstable note, so it's not like we're tonicizing, that we're really hitting a note and we're making that a new tonic, that we've modulated to it. So it's weird. It's not like a jins in that way. But the emphasis is so strong, and hopefully now after this lesson, you're hearing it over and over again. So when you listen to songs in Maqam Huzam and improvisations, you'll start to hear, oh, this is it's a separate thing, even though it leads to Rust on 6 and it leads to Hijaz on 3, and it has this contrast with Sikah on 1. It is its own little thing. It's very brief, super brief, so you might miss it. And it's never been categorized in theory before, because I guess people just think, okay, it's just part of the Maqam, or it's part of Rust, or it's part of Hijaz. Whatever the reason is, I'm like choosing to identify it so that you focus on it and recognize its specific melodies that are different than the melodies of Rust, different than the melodies of Hijaz. The other thing that I would say, and I'm going back and forth, right, that makes it not a jins, is it's not transferable to some other family. You know, when we talk about, for example, in Maqam Huzam, jins bayati, right? Jins bayati, when it occurs in this maqam, also can occur in different maqamat. It can occur on the 5th scale degree of Rust. It can be the root of its own maqam bayati. So this thing that we're talking about today, this melodic entity, doesn't do that. It doesn't occur in any other maqam context. It only occurs when you have maqam Sikah or Huzam. So it's not really transferable like most of the ajnas are. So it's a, special, unique, weird thing that is beautiful and an important part of this maqam, but you're not going to find it in a different maqam context, which is also a clue. When you hear this melody, in kunt, you're in Maqam Huzam, and that's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'll play you out with a little bit more of that, but before I do so, huge thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you can afford to support me on Patreon, please check the link below. It's a small monthly contribution that actually enables me to keep making these for free for those who can't afford it. So if you can afford $6 a month or $10 a month to support what I'm doing here, I would be very grateful to you. And a huge thanks to those who are already doing so. You guys are totally awesome. And as an added bonus, those who do support the Patreon get a few lessons in additional keys than the ones I'm doing on YouTube. So it's a little bonus. So thank you all for this, and I hope you enjoy this lesson and the lesson for Maqam Huzam. Unstable, right? Yeah. Can't finish there.